The studio lights of Good Morning America gleamed brighter than ever that morning, reflecting off the polished white floors and the sleek modern sets. The morning show thrived on energy, a delicate mix of casual chatter and high-profile interviews designed to hook millions of viewers across the nation. But there was an electricity in the air that day, something different, almost palpable, a tension the producers couldn't quite mask. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex turned media powerhouse, had agreed to appear on the show for a live interview, and the network was banking on it being their most watched morning segment in months. Backstage, the crew buzzed with nervous anticipation. Cameras were tested, microphones checked, and lighting angles scrutinized. Producers whispered to one another in low tones, aware that Meghan's presence could be both a ratings boon and a ticking time bomb. Meghan herself was composed, calm, and poised, moving through the corridor with a quiet confidence. Her staff walked slightly behind her, carrying clipboards and tablets, their expressions almost as guarded as hers. Meghan's focus was razor sharp. She wasn't just a guest on a morning talk show, she was aware that every word she spoke, every glance she gave, would be dissected online and in the press by the hour. When the live segment began, the audience clapped enthusiastically, many fans eager to see the Duchess in a context outside the royal bubble. Michael Strahan, the show's charismatic host known for his easy charm and quick humor, stepped forward with a broad, practiced smile. "Meghan, it's a pleasure to have you here," he said warmly, extending his hand. Meghan shook it with grace, her posture perfect, her smile polite but measured. She was pleasant, undeniably, but there was a guardedness to her demeanor, a subtle signal that she was prepared for any curveball that might come her way. The cameras rolled, and the conversation began with the expected topics: Meghan's recent advocacy work, her mental health initiatives, and her latest media projects. Everything seemed calm, professional, and in line with the network's expectations. Strahan asked about her recent appearances and the philanthropic efforts she had been championing. Meghan responded with confidence and clarity, articulating her mission in ways that were both inspiring and grounded. Viewers at home nodded along, impressed by her poise and eloquence. But the calm was deceptive. As the discussion progressed, the questions started veering into more personal territory. "There have been reports about tensions with the royal family," Strahan said casually, thinking he could maintain a neutral tone. "Can you tell us what that's like from your perspective?" The question, though phrased lightly, carried weight, a subtle prod into a topic Meghan had long avoided in public interviews. Her eyes narrowed just slightly. The polite smile that had greeted viewers moments earlier hardened, becoming a thin line of controlled displeasure. "I think it's unfortunate how the media continues to twist narratives," she said, her tone carefully measured but unmistakably sharp. "I'm here to talk about my work and the causes I'm passionate about, not to relive endless speculation about personal matters that are deeply private." The crew behind the cameras exchanged quick, worried glances. Producers whispered frantically into their earpieces, realizing that the usual flow of the interview was starting to unravel. Strahan, sensing the tension, attempted to steer the conversation back to lighter ground. "Of course, we respect that," he replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "But isn't transparency part of what people expect from public figures?" That's when the dynamic changed entirely. Meghan's voice, calm yet resolute, cut through the polished studio air. "I am not obligated to give commentary on topics I find invasive or irrelevant. I expected professionalism and respect from this interview, not entrapment." Her words carried an edge of authority, leaving no room for misinterpretation. The audience, both in the studio and watching at home, could feel the shift. What had started as a friendly exchange was now an unmistakable standoff. Strahan, usually quick to diffuse tension with humor or charm, found himself momentarily disarmed. He had faced challenging guests before, but Meghan's composure and precision in her responses were unlike anything he had encountered. She didn't flinch, didn't stumble over words, and didn't allow for interruptions. Every sentence she delivered was carefully calibrated, designed to maintain control of the narrative and assert her boundaries. Producers attempted to intervene discreetly, signaling Strahan to pivot, but Meghan's presence commanded the room. She continued with a composed intensity, highlighting specific examples of misrepresentation by the media, and subtly pointing out the inconsistency in how her personal and professional lives had been reported. "I spend my days focused on initiatives that aim to make a difference," she said, her voice steady and resonant. And yet, the focus often shifts to sensationalized rumors, which does a disservice not only to me but to the causes I'm advocating for. Strahan, trying to regain some footing, leaned forward slightly. "I understand, Meghan, but some viewers might argue that when you step into the public eye, you invite questions. How do you balance that with your need for privacy?" Her reply was deliberate, cutting through the usual host-guest pretense. "Balance is only possible when the people asking the questions respect boundaries. I will not engage in speculation about family dynamics or personal conflicts because it is neither productive nor respectful. I came here to share my work, and that is what I intend to do." At that point, the live audience was captivated. A quiet murmur ran through the crowd, an almost tangible tension as viewers sensed that something extraordinary was unfolding. The typical morning show cheerfulness had given way to an electrifying mix of anticipation and unease. Cameras zoomed in on Meghan's composed demeanor, capturing every nuanced expression, her determination, her poise, and the unmistakable confidence that she wielded like armor. Behind the scenes, the producers were in a panic. Social media teams were already drafting tweets, anticipating the storm that would erupt once clips of the exchange hit the internet. The segment that was meant to be a feel-good ratings booster had become a cultural moment, a rare live glimpse of Meghan Markle asserting herself in an environment designed to maintain control over her narrative. As the discussion continued, Meghan skillfully redirected the conversation to her charitable initiatives, the importance of mental health advocacy, and her recent projects in media production. She spoke with clarity, passion, and conviction, never allowing the prior tension to derail her message. Every word reinforced her intent. She was in charge of her story, and she would not be manipulated, pressured, or cornered by the questions of a morning show, no matter how friendly the surface appeared. By the time the segment drew to a close, the atmosphere in the studio was charged. Strahan, now cautious and respectful, thanked Meghan for her time, his earlier bravado replaced with a rare deference. Meghan offered a polite nod and a small, composed smile, rising gracefully from her seat. Cameras cut away, but the energy lingered, leaving both the studio and viewers at home with the sense that they had witnessed more than a routine interview. They had witnessed a masterclass in presence, composure, and the power of setting boundaries in real time. Unbeknownst to the crew and the hosts, clips of the tense exchange would go viral within hours. Headlines would erupt across social media, news outlets would dissect every moment, and viewers would debate who won the confrontation. But for Meghan, the interview had accomplished exactly what she intended, asserting control, redirecting the conversation to her work, and demonstrating that she would not be coerced into discussing topics she deemed private. The morning that began with polished smiles and carefully rehearsed segments ended with a raw, undeniable truth. Meghan Markle had taken command of the room, leaving everyone involved to recalibrate their expectations. The moment the cameras cut away, the atmosphere in the Good Morning America studio was electric, though not in the usual upbeat way. Crew members whispered in hurried tones, producers gestured frantically, and Strahan sat frozen for a beat, processing the intensity of the live exchange. Meghan Markle had left the set with the same poised grace she had displayed throughout the interview, yet her departure felt like a statement in itself, an unmistakable declaration of control. Backstage, Meghan's team moved quickly, guiding her past the throngs of production staff, camera operators, and security. There was no smile, no small talk, only purpose. Meghan had come with a plan, and she had executed it flawlessly. She had come to GMA to speak about her initiatives, her advocacy, and her creative projects, and she had done exactly that, refusing to be drawn into the sensationalized narrative the network subtly tried to provoke. Meanwhile, the crew in the studio scrambled. Producers convened an emergency huddle, whispering urgently into their headsets, while social media teams began monitoring live reactions. Within minutes, clips from the segment had begun circulating online, sparking a firestorm of comments. Viewers praised Meghan for her composure, calling her responses poised, unflinching, and powerful. Others criticized Strahan for appearing flustered, suggesting that the host had underestimated Meghan's media savvy and her unwillingness to play along with uncomfortable personal questions. Strahan, sitting at the anchor desk, felt the weight of the situation settle on him. He had interviewed countless high-profile figures, yet few encounters had left him so visibly unprepared. His attempts to remain light and charming had collided head-on with Meghan's unshakable confidence. In the days following the interview, analysts would describe the moment as a masterclass in controlled confrontation, and Strahan himself would quietly admit in interviews that he hadn't anticipated her level of assertiveness. The fallout didn't stay confined to the studio. Social media erupted as clips of Meghan's pointed responses went viral. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok were flooded with comments and memes dissecting every word, every glance, every pause. News outlets ran headlines ranging from Meghan Markle schools Michael Strahan on live TV, to Duchess dominates morning show in unprecedented exchange. The segment became trending within hours, not just in the United States, but internationally, sparking debates about celebrity boundaries, media ethics, and Meghan's ongoing public image. Amid the chaos, the network's executives convened an urgent meeting. The segment, originally intended as a ratings triumph, had instead become a case study in live interview risk management. Senior producers debated whether Meghan's assertiveness had bolstered the show's credibility or undermined the host's authority. The consensus, albeit grudgingly, was clear: Meghan Markle had taken command of the narrative entirely, leaving GMA to adapt in real time. Strahan, now off camera, met with the producers in a quiet corner of the studio. He was unusually subdued, running a hand through his hair as he recounted the interview. "I tried to keep it light, keep the conversation flowing, but she didn't let me lead," he admitted. "It wasn't confrontational in the aggressive sense, but she was laser-focused. Every answer was intentional. I felt like I was being carefully measured the entire time." The producers nodded, acknowledging the truth in his words. "That's exactly what she did," one remarked. "She's media trained to the nth degree. She knows how to command attention, redirect the narrative, and maintain control in ways most people can't even imagine." Another added, "We can't ignore the impact. Ratings are through the roof, but we have to manage the PR fallout carefully." Some viewers loved the confrontation, others might think it was awkward. As the morning continued, the live audience at home remained captivated. Discussion panels and news shows replayed Meghan's most pointed remarks, dissecting the tone, body language, and implications of her responses. Experts debated whether the interview marked a turning point in how public figures handle personal questions and how media outlets navigate the fine line between curiosity and intrusion. Meghan's refusal to be drawn into sensationalized speculation became a talking point in discussions about privacy, celebrity culture, and empowerment. Meanwhile, Strahan faced a dual reality. On one hand, he had been bested in a live exchange, a rare moment in his long career as a host. On the other hand, the segment's virality brought a surge of attention to him in the show. Clips of his reactions, the subtle flinches, and attempts at humor were endlessly replayed. Memes circulated depicting him in various exaggerated expressions of surprise and bewilderment, while commentators debated whether he had been outclassed or simply encountering a guest unlike any other. For Meghan, the outcome was precisely as intended. Her visibility skyrocketed, not just as a celebrity or a former royal, but as a figure who could command attention without compromising her personal boundaries. Interviews, podcasts, and news outlets reached out in droves, eager to feature her perspective on work-life balance, advocacy, and media dynamics. She had proven that assertiveness, when wielded with precision and poise, could turn a potentially uncomfortable situation into a defining career moment. In the days that followed, network executives reflected on the lessons learned. GMA had inadvertently demonstrated a truth long discussed behind closed doors. Guests like Meghan Markle, who understand both their public power and the mechanics of media interaction, cannot be handled with conventional interview tactics. The exchange became a case study in preparation, highlighting the importance of respecting guest boundaries and the risks of underestimating highly media-savvy individuals. Strahan, for his part, would eventually acknowledge the experience as formative. In interviews weeks later, he described the moment as humbling but enlightening. It was a reminder, he said, that no matter how much experience you have, some people have an innate ability to command space, to redirect the conversation, and to assert themselves in ways that are both impressive and challenging. Meghan Markle is undoubtedly one of those people. Social media continued to buzz. Memes, commentary threads, and opinion pieces proliferated, with fans celebrating Meghan's clarity and composure, while critics debated the fairness of her responses. Every clip, every nuance, was dissected as if the nation itself were watching a live lesson in assertiveness. Discussions about media boundaries, the ethics of personal questioning, and the evolving role of public figures in managing their image became central topics of debate. By the end of the week, Good Morning America had not only survived the ordeal but had seen its ratings spike dramatically. The show had inadvertently created a cultural moment, a segment that would be referenced in discussions about live television, media power dynamics, and celebrity interactions for months to come. Meghan Markle had walked into the studio with one goal: control her narrative, and had left with it firmly in her grasp. Strahan, having regained his composure, approached Meghan privately in a follow-up conversation. The interaction was cordial but marked by mutual respect. "You certainly kept me on my toes," he said with a wry smile. Meghan returned the smile, acknowledging the challenge without diminishing her stance. "It's all part of the conversation," she replied. "And every conversation has its boundaries." In the end, the incident became more than just a viral moment. It became a lesson in power, precision, and the delicate art of live communication. Meghan Markle had navigated a potentially volatile situation with unwavering poise, leaving GMA, Strahan, and viewers alike to reckon with a simple truth: sometimes, control is not given, it is claimed, word by word, with deliberate intent. The media would continue to speculate, debate, and dissect, but Meghan had already achieved what mattered most. She had spoken her truth on her own terms, and no amount of pressure or probing could change that. The interview would be remembered not just for the clash of personalities, but for the undeniable strength, clarity, and authority with which she carried herself, transforming a routine morning show segment into a defining moment of cultural conversation.